Hey, what's going on guys? Alex here with TFL Bike, and I have a really cool video because this is an all-electric motorcycle. It's the Zero FXE, and in this video we're going to go through all the features, all the specs, actually get it out on the road and see what it's like to ride, and at the end of the video I'll let you know how this exact bike right here could be yours. All right, let's take a look at the wheel and tire setup because that's kind of where the story of this bike starts. This has 17-inch wheels front and rear, but it looks like a dirt bike. So the FXE is Zero's supermoto bike, and we all love supermotos, so I'm really excited about that. But then if you kind of look at the whole bike as a whole, yeah, it's got a very narrow body, just like a dirt bike. It's got a long, tall seat, just like a dirt bike, but street wheels and tires. That's the perfect formula for a supermoto, and this one happens to be electric. All right, let's take this FXE out on the road, see what it's like. Throw a leg over it. You can see that little regen. Well, it's showing the torque output right now. I'm not going fast enough for the regen to show anything, but keep an eye on that as we go along. A couple different riding modes. We've got Eco, which I'm in right now. Custom, which is customizable with the app that Zero makes, so you can go in and adjust all your settings. And then we have a sport mode. We'll get to sport mode, but I want to start in Eco because that's kind of the more tame mode. Nothing on the clutch side because we have no clutch, but we do still have a rear brake pedal in the traditional spot. And again, nothing here on the left side. So the left side is a little bare, which means we don't have to do all that much. We just kind of twist and go. Let's give it a little Eco mode acceleration here. It still moves in Eco. It's pretty gradual though. It's not like a sharp on-off. It builds up to power, which is nice. Feels pretty refined. And you can see I am regenning power there. When I get on the brakes, it starts even more. So I wonder what brake pad life would be on a bike like this. It'd be interesting. Can't get over how light this is. It's crazy. Love the weight of this machine. And just to prove that supermoto point even further, hopping on the bike, it's really comfortable, but 32.9-inch seat height, which is really not crazy high compared to a lot of supermotos on the market. So really comfortable, easy to get your feet down. And one of my favorite parts about this bike, 298-pound curb weight, which is super, super light. So just like every supermoto on the market, this feels extremely flickable. And that's always one of the scary points about buying an electric bike is, are the batteries going to be too heavy? And I can tell you before I even get out on the road, battery weight is not an issue at all. Oh, but it's so easy because of the weight to just kind of cruise around. It almost feels like a bicycle when you're going super slow, just because you're sitting up high. It's really easy to turn. And it makes no noise. All right, now to talk about the powertrain of this bike. This is powered by a 7.2 kilowatt hour battery pack. It shares a lot of components with a lot of the other Zero bikes on the market, but they did a really good job hiding the battery in this. It doesn't have this big block design like a lot of electric bikes out there. And then it's powered by Zero's brushless electric motor. It's air cooled, you can see it right here, and it's got this cool kind of bronze finish to it. So there's some design elements there. Belt driven system, which is pretty typical for an electric motorcycle like this. And this bike with this motor and battery configuration makes 46 horsepower and 78 pound-feet of torque, and top speed is 86 miles an hour. Now, as far as suspension goes up front, Showa forks, 41 millimeters, and they are inverted forks like you'd expect on this kind of bike. And they are adjustable, so you have adjustment screws at the top of each fork leg. And then moving around back, we have an adjustable rear shock as well. So you can see there's a little adjustment screw on the bottom here, and you've got your standard rings at the top to adjust preload as well. And then taking a look at brakes, we've got a single-sided brake disc up front, which is really all you need on a bike that is this lightweight. And as you can see by the secondary wire coming down here, it does have ABS, and it's a Bosch ABS system. This bike actually has a decent amount of technology, so let's dive into the dash. All right, let's power on the screen here. This uses Zero's proprietary Cypher 2 operating system, which I think looks really good. This screen has an anti-glare finish on it. It's really easy to see with sunglasses and a tinted visor on. And it gives you all the info you need and nothing you don't. So we've got range nice and big over here on the left. It's reading 58 miles right now. That jumps around and changes once it kind of adapts to your riding style. Below that is our battery percentage. We're at 100% right now. And then we've got sort of a visual speedometer up top with a readout in the center that tells you exactly how fast you're going. You've also got a regen and torque graph here that kind of shows how much battery you're putting in or how much battery you're using on acceleration, and you'll see that out on the road. And then you've got an instant watt hours per mile counter over here on the right, and an odometer down in the bottom right hand corner. Some dummy lights over on each side as well. And you can cycle through different parameters here, and you can check error codes, see the motor RPM, trip computer, everything you'd expect on a modern motorcycle dash. Overall, I really like this dash. It's well designed, it looks modern, and I think that matches the whole theme of this bike. Yeah, even in eco mode, you twist the throttle and this bike wants to move. And the brakes, even though you've only got a single-sided disc up front, this bike weighs less than 300 pounds. So really not a whole lot to stop, and it stops really well. Impressed with the brakes on this. Mr. Harley approves. Oh, that's Mr. Honda. That ain't Mr. Harley. Sorry, I was stereotyping V-twins. The other two Zeros I've ridden felt a little plasticky and a little cheap to me. They didn't feel like a super well put together motorcycle. And this, kind of a similar feeling, but I'm more okay with it on this bike. Because the other two bikes I rode, one was supposed to be a naked sport bike, and one was supposed to be an adventure bike, basically, or a dual sport. And they both just felt really plasticky and rattly, and like the build quality wasn't there. This feels similar. Although I have to say the build quality on this is probably a little better than the DSR, but it's still definitely plasticky and a little creaky, and it's lightweight, so it doesn't feel super substantial when you touch any of these parts. But I'm okay with it on this bike, and the reason is this is a supermoto. And the whole point of a supermoto is that it's a dirt bike frame and body with street equipment. I love that. In a supermoto, I think we're all used to seeing, and we all expect, creaky bodywork and kind of loose plastics, so it feels okay on this bike. Whereas a street bike, like a naked street bike or a dual sport, you expect everything to be rock solid. This almost feels like it shouldn't be street legal, or it's not a motorcycle. Like it feels very mountain bikey, which is really cool. And I know you're all gonna ask about range, and I've got my notes here. I'm gonna read these numbers because Zero gives so many figures, and there's no way my tiny little brain is gonna remember all this. So, 100 miles of city range, 60 miles on the highway at 55 miles per hour, 75 miles combined. If you're doing 70 miles per hour on the highway, you have a 40-mile range. So range varies drastically depending on what kind of riding you're doing. And then as far as charging times go, 9.5 hours on the standard wall charger that this bike comes with, but you can get an optional fast charger that can bump the time up to 1.8 hours. So basically 2 hours, pretty close to 2 hours. But that's an expensive option. It's a $775 option to add the fast charger to this bike. And as you can tell from this one, a lot of people don't go for that option because it's very pricey. So there you have it, the Zero FXE. And I gotta say, out of all the electric Zeros and even motorcycles I've ridden, I think this is my favorite electric bike I've been on. Part of the reason is the price. A lot of these electric bikes are like the Livewire. The first one I rode was 30 grand, and that was just really hard for me to wrap my head around. Pricing on this motorcycle is $12,995 the way it sits here. Like I said earlier, you can add that quick charger. That's gonna add $775. But even with that option, under 14 grand, I think this is a lot of value for what you get, and I just love the design of it. It looks so cool. I said at the start of this video, I'd let you know exactly how this motorcycle could be in your garage, and it's up for sale right now on TFLbids.com. So head on over to TFL Bids and check out the auction. It's up there for 1 week, and this is a bike you probably won't want to miss out on. I'm a little tempted. I've got too many bikes, not enough space in my garage, so I'm not going to do it. But like I said, this is one of the best electric bikes I've ridden. So head on over to TFL Bids, take this guy home. We'll catch you in the next video.